All right, so the fun part is today. While the 49ers spent Tuesday cutting down their roster, they're going to spend the second day of construction building it back up. That right there is Sebastian Valdez, 49ers defensive tackle who was waived. We'll find out here over the course of the next few hours if he was claimed by another team. If not, there's a very good chance that Sebastian Valdez, spelled with a Z at the end of his last name, will be headed back to the 49ers on their practice squad. There's also a chance another Valdez, this one spelled with an S in his name, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, is going to become a 49er. And I think that this one would be a little bit more controversial. A receiver with a lot of drops on his resume, but apparently, according to Aaron Wilson, he's deciding between the Steelers and the 49ers as San Francisco peruses all avenues to deepen its wide receiver position, which is obviously the thinnest unit on the roster right now. They've had a ton of injuries. I think when the 49ers receiving room is fully healthy, it will be a formidable group, but between the Demarcus Robinson suspension, which became official from the NFL yesterday, the Brandon Ayuk injury, Jordan Watkins is hurt, so is Jacob Cowing. All those things have conspired to make the 49ers particularly flimsy right now at wide receiver. We also have to mention Jawan Jennings. Maybe the 49ers get resolution on that front. But the waiver wire has been open. We'll find out the claims in a little bit. The news I can tell you right now is that Marquez Valdes-Scantling, somebody who's played with Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Josh Allen, he was most recently with the Seahawks. He is a vested veteran. He's available, 30-year-old wide receiver, somebody with about 340 career targets and 24 drops. That's the bad news. The good news is that he did have 4.3 speed coming out. I think he could probably still move. Seattle actually signed him to a contract worth up to $5.5 million. Obviously, didn't work out with the Seahawks, but the 49ers are in more desperate times at wide receiver. We can take a look at their initial 53-man roster here. This is what the 49ers came out of Tuesday with, and now they're going to add to it. As you can see, this entire side is empty. What I did over here is I changed it from 90-man roster to practice squad. So the 49ers are going to be filling up the practice squad where they have 17 spots today, assuming, well, they may only have 16 for the time being because Isaac Alarcon, who's their international exception player, is on the suspended list. So maybe they'll only be adding 16 today unless they have another international exception player that joins the team for just a short amount of time for the 6 games while Alarcon is suspended. But this is a clean slate. It's ready for the 49ers to fill, perhaps with some of the players whom they cut yesterday. We do expect a lot of familiar faces. And then on this side, we expect at least one procedure, Jacob Cowing to injured reserve. If and when that happens, the 49ers will have opened up a roster spot. Of course, they've got to re-sign their punter, Thomas Morstead. So we're going to fill out this cell right here with his name, probably after Jacob Cowing goes to IR. From that point, it will all depend on which waiver claims are successful for the 49ers. They're number 11 on the waiver claim list. There are obviously a ton of possibilities around the league since nearly 1,200 players were cut yesterday, many of whom went to the waiver wire. Only vested veterans like MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, did not go to the waiver wire. They can sign with anybody. That's why he's deciding between the 49ers and the Steelers. But the waiver claim order, that is determined by draft order. It's determined by record in the year prior. 49ers went 6-11. And there are going to be several intriguing players they can look at. Jake Haener, former Saints quarterback who played under Clint Kubiak, who was the offensive coordinator last year. He's going to be available. If you can see here, the 49ers have a need for a third quarterback. Are they going to just try to sign somebody to the practice squad? That's possible. Could be Carter Bradley or Tanner Mordecai. If they, though, put a claim in on somebody like Jake Haener, who is a more experienced player as far as regular season football goes, Bay Area connections, right? Julie, his mom, KTVU anchor here in the Bay Area, went to Fresno State. If somebody like that is available for the 49ers and they really do think that they should take up a 53-man roster spot for him, their waiver claim order will determine whether or not such a pursuit is successful, and they'll have to open up another roster spot to make it possible. We don't know if the 49ers still want to put somebody else on injured reserve. There are no obvious candidates aside from Jacob Cowing and then potentially Jawan Jennings. We all know the situation there has been murky. Maybe the 49ers have finally gotten a little bit of resolution on the Jawan Jennings front. We will check with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch later today. They both speak at 2 p.m. The 49ers then practice at 3:10 p.m. That's later than normal because today the 49ers are going to be spending their time building out this roster. I would even say that today is the fun part. You could talk about players like Hayner. You could talk about Valdes-Scantling, although I know fans are going to cringe there because they've seen some of the drops. They've seen those 24 drops and the 340 targets. But you're going to be talking about potential additions to the wide receiver room. You know, somebody like Trey Palmer is out there and available now. Somebody like Malachi Corley is out there and available now. That would be a waiver claim for Malachi Corley. 3 years left still on his rookie deal after the Jets waived him. Robert Saleh and company back when they were with New York drafted him just last season. So all those guys are there. The 49ers have been active scouring the receiver market. We know this based on their interest even in signing Amari Cooper, but we know that the 49ers have a very stringent price. They want a receiver at cost efficiency, because who knows, they may end up paying Jawan Jennings a little bit more to get this resolved, although right now the latest we've heard is that they've drawn a line in the sand and that's a standstill. They paid Brandon Ayuk $30 million annually last year, and he is beginning this season on PUP. They've essentially maxed out their budgets across all positions. They're top 5 in cash spend again this offseason. The guys shaded in yellow for the 49ers here, a group that will include Ayuk once he's back and healthy, are taking up the vast majority of the cash. That's by design. The 49ers are paying A-list players and then filling out the rest of the roster with cost efficiency. Well, it doesn't really fit their cost structure to go out and pay a receiver more, I would say, than $3 million a year. I think that the Brian Robinson acquisition at running back shows us the 49ers are really, really looking at the bottom line here to make sure they stay salary cap sustainable moving into the future. Robinson owed a total of $3.4 million this year, and the 49ers, in trading with Washington, said, we are not taking all $3.4 million. This is a good back. This is their running back too. 49ers said, we could take about $2.1 million. How about you guys pay $1.25 million? Now, I think the 49ers probably asked for about $1.4 million of cap relief or of salary relief from Washington, and they probably negotiated and met somewhere in the middle. Washington probably said 1, and the 49ers said 1.4, 1.5, and they came together at 1.25. The 49ers are paying $2.1 million this year for Brian Robinson, and that probably still is on the high end of what they're willing to do, but it was within what they're willing to do. So just extrapolating down the road to the receiver position, which is more expensive typically than the running back position, I would think that if the 49ers find somebody that they like, $3 million might be the limit. Amari Cooper went to the Raiders, back to the Raiders, for about $6 to $7 million. And I'd always thought something like that was out of budget. $5 million or more, given the Jennings situation, given what you paid Brandon Ayuk last year, given your salary structure as the 49ers, that's just something that hasn't been congruent with what they have practiced this offseason, which is paying the A-list guys here shaded in yellow a ton of money, but trying to stay as cost efficient as possible at other positions. You know, another potential addition for the 49ers that people, oh boy, the 49ers are signing Marquez Valdes-Scantling. All right, well, it's no longer a potential addition. We'll see how much they're paying this guy. Mike, I don't know if you can change the title on YouTube Studio on your end. I know I can't do it on my end. I know that we've got Scantling in the headline, so maybe that will be good. But if we just change it to here, let me send you what our title should be. Let's get this in. Recently released by Seattle. And we're gonna get his name in the title right now. This is good timing, isn't it? We went live about 10 minutes ago. The news has come through. This is from My Sports Update. We've got the text title down at the bottom. Hopefully that works with the title on YouTube. Might give me the thumbs up, and we'll get going here with this. Wide receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling is signing with the 49ers. He was recently released by Seattle. He was choosing between the Steelers and the 49ers. Marquez is 30 years old, as I was saying here over the past few minutes. He has dropped quite a few passes in his career, 24 drops over about 340 or so career targets. That being said, he is a deep threat. He is somebody who ran about a 4.36, I want to say. It was in the 4.3s coming out of college. I think he still does have some of that speed. We've seen him play with some of the game's best quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers back in his closer to his prime with Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers' prime in Green Bay lasted a long time. He had that great 2020 season, but there was Aaron Rodgers, there's been Patrick Mahomes, and there's been Josh Allen in the quarterback list for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. The 49ers are desperate at receiver. They've needed to add somebody, and they are adding MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, veteran wide receiver, has joined the 49ers. So thanks to Mike for making that update. We will now take a look at where Marquez Valdes-Scantling is going to fit into the 49ers roster. Right now, they've only got two, or before this, they only had two healthy wide receivers. So Pearsall and Sky Moore were the only two healthy wideouts. Now, Russell Gage also factors into this. I'm going to even go ahead and put Russell Gage over here. They're going to re-sign him to either the practice squad or the 53 today. Probably the practice squad based on what some of the reports made it sound like yesterday. But Gage is in their plans for week one for sure. So this is a provisionary add, but we're going to put Russell Gage over on the right side in the practice squad. He can be flexed up. Now, Scantling is going to sign to be on the 53-man roster. So Jacob Cowing, I would assume, is going to go to injured reserve today. You know, we could already start making some of these moves. If they don't end up happening, it's not like it's official on this sheet anyway. We're going to put Jacob Cowing on injured reserve because he's not going to be available for about 6 weeks, right? So Cowing goes down here. And we could go ahead and put Marquez Valdes-Scantling in his old spot. There we go. Gonna need to widen the cell here a little bit to fit his name. There, we got to fit the whole name in there. Don't want to abbreviate anything. So now everybody waits for Juwan. I spelled his name wrong though. I got to spell his name right. Now everybody waits for Juwan Jennings and resolution of that situation. When we speak to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch today, maybe they'll say we've worked things out with Juwan. Maybe the 49ers and Juwan Jennings will drop news that some additional incentives have been added to the contract. I don't know. And that has been murky. That's been in the dark here for a few weeks now. Obviously, the calf has also been an issue for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So that has been an issue for Juwan Jennings. So that is in a holding pattern. But if that is fixed in time for week one on both fronts, then the 49ers are actually sitting decently pretty at that wide receiver position. I think you don't want Valdes-Scantling to be one of your top two, but if Pearsall and Jennings are your top two and MVS is your three heading into week one, I think you're okay. Russell Gage can also be a dependable possession 3 or 4. And then Sky Moore is where Sky Moore should be, is a gadget weapon. They didn't sign Sky Moore to be an X wide receiver. They signed Sky to be a punt returner and a kick returner and a Ray McLeod type for the 49ers. So it's one of those things where the 49ers just have to get through the early season at wide receiver. Once you get through to the point where Brandon Ayuk can return, that's obviously an upgrade. over a lot of the names that we're talking about filling in, even though he is coming off an ACL and an MCL. He's one of the best receivers in football back in 2023 before all the drama of 2024. Then Demarcus Robinson, he's going to be out for the first 3 games. That is going to be an upgrade for the 49ers at the probably, I would say, the number 3 spot for San Francisco. I think Pearsall, once Ayuk is back, is going to be one of the top 2. And then we'll see where Juwan Jennings factors in. This can actually be a very deep group by the time it's all said and done for the 49ers. The problem is that it's not deep right now. The problem is that depth has been drained out due to injuries and due to the Demarcus Robinson suspension as the 49ers speak. But as I said yesterday, and I wrote all about this on the San Francisco Standard, more heavy lifting was coming today, and right on cue, as soon as we began this live, just a few minutes in, the top guy in our title, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, has signed with the 49ers. They practiced today at 3:10. Lynch and Shanahan speak at 2. This was a logical receiver move. It's not like you've got great wideouts just waiting out there right now on the free agent market. Scantling has his issues with drops, but he's got field stretching ability. And that's, if you look at the 2 wideouts whom the 49ers have added over the course of the past week, Sky Moore in the pick swap with the Kansas City Chiefs, and now Scantling, who was released by the Seattle Seahawks and now joins the 49ers on what's almost certainly going to be a minimum deal. If you look at those 2 wideouts, they've have their issues catching the football, but they have a very good speed out of the gate. And I think if you have to add somebody, since the market is not going to be robust at this time, then you're going to go for somebody with a very, very plus trait. For Sky Moore, it's an elite 10-yard burst, 146 out of the gate. Okay, you could put that to use. Even if it's just clearing space, you could put that to use. For somebody like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's going 146. He's going 4.3 something. He's in the 4.3s going out of the gate in the 40-yard dash. Mike, do you have a relative athletic score for Valdes-Scantling so we could take a look at the 10-yard split and the 20? I want to kind of illustrate and visualize all this on the screen. Kendrick Bourne was just released by the Patriots, by the way. We have our first 49ers practice squad official news. Well, it's not from the 49ers, but this is actually a report. Trevis Gipson plans to sign with the 49ers practice squad if he clears waivers. The waiver window closes in 10 minutes. So that's coming up here, or maybe it already closed. I think it closed at noon Eastern. So we're going to keep our eyes on the waiver wire here over the next few minutes. It's good. A great time to be live right now. I think a really good time to join the show. Yesterday, we tracked everything coming in live. And today, we're going to be able to do the same thing with the waiver wire. And then the 49ers are going to be able to complete their roster. You know, right here, I do have Russell Gage on the practice squad. That is not official yet. So maybe I should put an asterisk there. But if Trevis Gipson clears waivers, he's going to join the 49ers practice squad as an edge rusher. So we'll put his name on here with an asterisk as well. I should actually have a practice squad counter. Why don't we do that right here? Practice squad total. You guys can see my awesome Excel skills now. I hope you can detect sarcasm. But look, you could put in a counting formula called Count A, and anybody listed in this column is going to, well, actually, we can't do that. We can't do that because it's going to count. Yeah, anybody listed right here. And then we're going to add another counting formula, count A, parentheses, and down here, anybody listed in those 2 columns added together is going to be taking up a practice squad spot. So look, practice squad total is 2 now. And these are temporary additions for now, Russell Gage and Trevis Gipson. I'm assuming Gage and Gipson, there's a report. I think that the waiver window is closed, but it's going to take a little bit for reports to come through. We got the Marquez Valdes-Scantling relative athletic score. This is what we were looking for. I'm going to get this up on the screen. So Kendrick Bourne cut. That's from coming out of New England from Tom Pelissero, and Matt Barrows has said that Travis Gibson is going to plan to sign with the 49ers practice squad. And Mike has jokes, which we will share with you as well. So here, first off, this is what I planned, or this is what I promised to show you. This is the Valdes-Scantling relative athletic score. He's been in the league for a while, so we got one of the old graphics here. These ones not nearly as clean as the new ones. As you could see over here on the right side, there you have the 40 at 4.37. That's his best explosive speed metric. You could see the relative athletic score on that is a 9.61. And he actually picks up speed with his strides as he moves downfield. With somebody who's 6'4", that is what you would expect. It's a big receiver, 6'4", 206. Takes him a little bit to get going relative to somebody like Sky Moore, who's shorter, who has a 1.46 10-yard split. But by the time that it's up to 40, then he's as fast as Sky Moore or faster. So Marquez Valdes-Scantling is definitely somebody who can stretch the field. The go route is something that he does run well. Unfortunately, does not have great hands with those 24 career drops. But at this point, the 49ers are just looking to fill that wide receiver room with some sort of plus trait. And they've done so with speed with both Sky Moore and with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Now, we said that Mike has jokes since Kendrick Bourne has just been released. This is what's happening right now. John Lynch on the phone with Kendrick Bourne. Not on the phone with us, with Kendrick Bourne. This is a possibility as well. Kendrick started his career with the 49ers in 2017, undrafted free agent, really cool story, worked his way into the number 3 wide receiver role for the 49ers, was ultimately replaced by Jawan Jennings. There'd be something poetic about that if Kendrick Bourne comes in to help the 49ers pick up some slack that might be partly created by the Jawan Jennings situation. He runs good routes. He's grown into the NFL through Kyle's system and then turned into a vet and signed for some decent money in New England. And he is available. And it's not like 1, 2, or even 3 smaller wide receiver signings really solve all the 49ers issues right now. They're trying to build a bridge to the future with their wide receiver room. And the future is only a few weeks away. So they have to just find a way to cross this turbulent time. And the way that you do that is that you look at the receivers who might be available now, thanks to these 1,200 or so cuts that have happened around the entire league. The Patriots are releasing wide receiver Kendrick Bourne upon request after they failed to finalize a trade that would have sent him to Minnesota, per source. The 49ers have high interest in bringing back wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, a source says, after he gets his release from the Patriots. That is from Matt Mayoko. So both of the Matts coming through. Barrows talking about Travis Gibson, Matt Mayoko talking about Kendrick Bourne. Again, this is why it was very apparent that the roster that the 49ers put out yesterday was still a big-time work in progress. They had only 2 healthy receivers on the 53. The reason they cut Russell Gage with an agreement to bring him back at least to the practice squad is because they wanted 53-man roster space in the receiver room in the event that guys did become available. The 49ers had a sense that Kendrick Bourne would become available, and they had a sense that somebody like Marquez Valdes-Scantling would become available. Mike, if you can add Kendrick Bourne into the title, that would be great. Thank you. So because we're going to be talking about Bourne and we're going to be talking about Scantling, that probably would be good enough for the 49ers to get through week 1, probably week 2, however long they need at the start of the year, if Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle are healthy. I think you are going to definitely see a lot of 12 and 21 personnel, maybe even 22 personnel from the 49ers at the start of this season. And by that, I mean a lot of two tight end stuff, a lot of two back stuff for the 49ers, especially at the start of the season, no matter who they bring in. So MVS is with them now. Kendrick Bourne might be with them too. But no matter who they bring in, there's going to be heavy, heavy focus on Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. And, they've expanded their ability to run two back stuff with Brian Robinson Jr. So the offense is not going to be as explosive as they hope that it's going to be later in the season with Brandon Ayuk and company back. Jawan Jennings, too. I mean, again, holding pattern there. We have to talk to John and Kyle today to figure out what the latest is on that weird situation. But the explosiveness will definitely be down. However, productivity can stay up given the fact that you've got future Hall of Famers in Kittle and McCaffrey, as long as they are supported by the appropriate receiving core. Like it doesn't have to be a core of superstars out wide if you're running a lot of two tight end, two back personnel. 22 would be two tight ends and two backs. Is that possible for the 49ers? Sure. I mean, especially given the fact that you could split Christian McCaffrey out into the slot out wide and Brian Robinson can stay back as a tailback in those scenarios. Those two can be interchangeable too. Brian Robinson has caught 65 passes over 3 years, so he's a big upgrade over Jordan Mason in the receiving game. You can be sure that Kyle Shanahan is going to utilize that versatility, especially early in this year. I love that we got some of this news coming out. The waiver drop is going to be coming out in 5 minutes. We're going to stay live here. We're going to be going through a lot of it. Hopefully the news comes out promptly as expected at around 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Yesterday we had to wait for a little while, but we had fun. We were online for an hour, and we had 4,000 of you viewing concurrently, and we went through the entire cut down that way. We're going to go through the entire waiver process here with you on this live. Another opportunity for the 49ers that a lot of people have been encouraging them to pursue is the offensive tackle Esa Pole, who was waived by the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday. He is or was available. We'll see who claimed him, if anybody did. Pole went to Chabot College in the East Bay, so he's got Bay Area roots, then up to Washington State. Actually had a really solid preseason for the Chiefs. Not the most athletic tackle, and I know that the 49ers typically, when they're looking for 53-man roster assignments for offensive tackles, they have certain physical characteristics that must be met. So I'm not really sure that SF Pole is going to fit the 49ers type. That being said, Colton McKivitz, when they drafted him back in 2020, wasn't all that athletic either, although that was a 5th-round pick and they started him as a guard. And since then, we know that Colton McKivitz has been running up Kearney Street and Vallejo Street, the really steep hills in San Francisco, and that's really fine-tuned his athleticism. He's become faster and stronger over the years, and now he's a plus offensive tackle for the 49ers. But it's not just about spots that are going to open up for San Francisco along the offensive line or that are going to open up for the 49ers because of injuries. It's also about spots that are going to open up or could be open because there's an opportunity for the 49ers to hit the upgrade button. Somewhere where they might be able to hit the upgrade button on the waiver wire, theoretically. It might not be likely, but theoretically is the backup right tackle position where Austin Pleasance made this roster. Would they think that somebody like Esa Pole is better than Austin Pleasance? That I'm not sure of, because they're very, very particular about the physical skill sets of their tackles, and I'm not really sure that Esa Pole does match that set of criteria, but we will see. Mike, I'm going to send you a text really quickly here with a little edit to that before you change it. Mike is working hard behind the scenes. Perfect. We've got everything in one. Mike is working hard behind the scenes to get the title changed as news very quickly develops over the course of this show. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you. All right. I'm sitting here now and I'm going to take some questions as we wait for some of this waiver news to drop. I think it's a good time for it. Wide receiver is a short term problem. Correct. It makes sense to that's why it makes sense to go after a guy like Bourne or a guy like Valdes-Scantling because you might be able to get these guys at a very affordable price. And remember, even if it's a short-term problem in that you think that guys are going to come back, other guys can get hurt. Those same guys can get hurt again. So you're always going to want depth in the wide receiver room. And you could use the practice squad. Russell Gage is a great example. They cut him yesterday, but they can flex Russell Gage up, and he's not taking up a 53-man spot. He's taking a 70-man spot. But you can be creative with how the practice squad supplements and augments that 53-man roster. So, yes, theoretically a temporary problem, but if you can find cost-efficient fixes to the temporary problem, you can kill two birds with one stone. You can cross the bridge that you need to right now, and then you could have depth for when you might need it when that problem is theoretically solved moving into the future. The asterisks on the chart mean that these guys aren't official practice squad signings. So these two here, I'm going to erase the asterisks from Jair Brown and Jordan Elliott. I have those on there because I thought they were trade candidates. Obviously, if the 49ers were trying to trade them, they haven't yet found a partner. But the asterisks right here on Gage and Gibson, the 49ers have not made any official practice squad signings. However, there's been a report that Gibson will sign with them if he's not claimed on waivers. And there has been, it's not necessarily a report, it's just obvious that Russell Gage is in the 49ers plans at receiver, and he might be on the practice squad. He might be on the 53. I think it's all going to depend on if the 49ers are able to sign another outside receiver or two. They've signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling, now maybe Kendrick Bourne. Those guys would require 53-man roster spots, and I think in that case, Russell Gage would come in off the practice squad like he was on at the end of last season. So the waiver wire has closed. It's unclear when the picks are released, like the waiver claims are released. That could happen at any time. So you should all wait with bated breath. Wait for the waivers with bated breath, and I can answer your questions while we wait for that. MVS is now a 49er. They're bolstering that receiver room. We're talking all of this before the 49ers take the practice field at 3:10 p.m. this afternoon. What sort of contract will Kendrick Bourne expect if the 49ers sign him? Well, he just got released by the Patriots, so I don't think it's going to be all that big of a deal. I think he was scheduled to make something like 6 or 7 million, and obviously they released him and they couldn't find a trade partner, so he's not going to make that much. I've always thought that 3 million is would be 3 to 4 maybe. Maybe you could push it to 4. Would it be a price ceiling for the 49ers for a receiver augmentation, if you will? That's just me spitballing, though. That's me just using data points like the Brian Robinson contract and the fact that Washington is picking up part of it, using the fact that Amari Cooper signed with the Raiders for 6.5, I think it was. And the 49ers were interested there, but obviously didn't beat that price. But I think that the number is going to come in underneath that. And I would say somewhere 3 to 4 million. Would Bourne be okay with that? I mean, again, he just got released. His original contract wasn't tradable. I can also tell you right here. Let's see what his contract was because I'm sure it's still up on Over the Cap. Kendrick Bourne was set to make 5.5 million this year on base salary with $850,000 total in per game roster bonus money, and he'd already made $150,000 in workout bonus money. So he was set to make about 6.5 million, and the Patriots could not trade that contract. So we can infer that Bourne's price for this year, the market rate price, is less than 6.5 million. That's about what Amari Cooper went for to the Raiders. I think the 49ers budget probably tops out at 4 million. That's just, again, me spitballing, but I would think that they'd be most comfortable at 3. Maybe you could push it up to 4. I'm guessing that Valdes-Scantling is a minimum signing. I know that the Seattle Seahawks signed him for up to 5.5 million, but he was also released there. So we're going to have to see these contracts to know exactly where the 49ers comfort level is as far as wide receiver spending. But it's been eminently clear that they are searching for bargains. And it's obvious why, because they've spent so much on their A-list players, including Brandon Ayuk in that receiver room. And there's the whole Jawan Jennings situation going on. So they're going for bargains to try to cross the bridge of injury problems at wide receiver. Exactly. You get it. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is not a long-term option. He's a Band-Aid for the first few weeks due to injuries. Bourne is a red zone machine. You're right. Guess where the 49ers struggled last year? The red zone. It was tough. Really tough in the red zone. Now, they didn't have good short yardage running. I think Brian Robinson Jr. can really help that. They didn't have Christian McCaffrey for much of the season. I think having Christian is a huge deal in the red zone for spacing issues. They also were very injured at wide receiver last year. They weren't generating the separation that they did in 2023. In fact, they ranked dead last. Kendrick Bourne actually has some wiggle, has some ability to separate, decent hands on Kendrick Bourne. That's why he turned into a good red zone target for San Francisco over 2017 to 2020. So the Titans have made a waiver claim. So we think that there are going to be names dropping very soon. I should even make a text title here. You guys are going to like this one. Waiver claims incoming. Jalen Armour Davis went to the Titans. The Titans have the first waiver pick. They're at the top of the order because they had the worst record last year. Top draft pick, top in the waiver order. 49ers, number 11. So we know that San Francisco has signed Valdes-Scantling. We know that they are interested in Kendrick Bourne. It was obvious they were going to make moves at wide receiver. And now we wait to see if they made any waiver claims that will be successful coming from number 11 in the pecking order. Time for me to move to Twitter right here and get some of this receiver analysis out there. The 49ers are going to be signing Junior Bergen to the practice squad. This is coming from Mike Garafolo. And only one of the 49ers' 11 draft picks waived. Wow, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mike Garafolo pointed out that Bergen was the only one of the 11 draft picks who didn't make the 53-man roster. It's just wild to say that. given the fact that the 49ers were so veteran heavy for years that it would be impossible in those seasons, very recent seasons, for an 11 player rookie class to see 10 of its players make the football team. But that happened for the 49ers. So Junior Bergen is going to be joining the practice squad. We don't even have to put his name in there with an asterisk. Congratulations to him. Gets to stay in the building and continue to develop as a punt returner for the 49ers. We'll go ahead and put Junior's name right here. Junior is a rookie, so he gets the green shade. Maybe a little darker shade of green so it matches the other ones. Drew Moss, Connor Colby over there. Junior Bergen is the first official signee to the 49ers practice squad. That is from Mike Garafolo. Also, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, should highlight his name in teal since he's a free agency or trade addition. So Sky Moore, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, teammates with the Chiefs, by the way. Both now with San Francisco's receiving room on the 53-man roster. Mike said the 49ers might need Junior Bergen because Sky Moore can get hurt. Also true. Sky had I think it was an abdominal, it was a core injury last year that really limited him and then ultimately ended his season with Kansas City. Was generally healthy his first two seasons in Kansas City, not the last one. You definitely need a backup kick and punt return option, and Junior Bergen coming from the practice squad can be that for the 49ers. The Jets claimed Esa Pole off waivers. So we talked about Esa Pole and we said it wasn't likely for the 49ers, and he goes to the Jets. Anyway, it's the offensive tackle waived by the Kansas City Chiefs. So is this just going down the list at this point, Mike? When is this stuff going to come out for the 49ers is the question. Mike says it's just coming out randomly. Well, hopefully we get a couple for the 49ers in the next couple minutes. Until then, your questions are welcome. Everybody should read the 53-man roster analysis up on the San Francisco Standard. The link is in the description. The Jets had the 7th pick in the waiver wire, so we don't know if the 49ers put in a claim on Esa Pole. I doubt that they did, because I don't think that he matches the speed characteristics they need from an offensive tackle. And the 49ers, by the way, they carried, and I wrote all about it up there on the Standard, they carried 21 linemen. Between 10 O linemen and 11 D linemen, 21 linemen on their initial 53-man roster. That is a record amount along both fronts, the offensive and the defensive lines. Waiting for your good questions. What's the Kendrick Bourne athletic score? He's not very fast, but I remember Kendrick coming out of college at Eastern Washington at a really, really strong 3-cone time. So there was a reason he's an undrafted free agent. He won the burner in the 40, but he was really, really sneaky quick with his ability to move his feet and change directions. And that allowed Kendrick Bourne to be a smooth route runner. He had a great work ethic. I think he still has a great work ethic. He's still in the NFL. So we even have his score right here. Mike comes through. Mike always comes through. So somebody asks about Kendrick Bourne's athletic score, and you're going to get Kendrick Bourne's athletic score thanks to Mike. I think that we have a new title for Mike. I know we've always called him the producer, but he's the vice president of production and advertising at the Lombardi Lounge because he could come through with gems like this. Kendrick Bourne's old relative athletic score. I mean, how about this? Look, what did I tell you guys? The 40 was not good. 4.68 at the combine, 4.55 at his pro day. So the four wide receiver, poor speed grade, but look at this 3-cone drill, 6.73. That is elite. 8.97. That's where you want to be at the 3-cone. So he didn't have good explosion, although the broad jump was okay. The 3-cone, the short area quickness for Kendrick Bourne, really, really good coming out of college. Thanks to our vice president of production and marketing, Mike. Or advertising. Mike, do you want it to be advertising or marketing? I should know. Oh, boy. I got a good one for you guys. This is from Matt Barrows. And I told you guys that this was very possible, and everybody was freaking out yesterday. This is why you don't freak out prematurely. Who's ready for the news? In 3, 2, 1. Sebastian Valdez will be signing with the 49ers practice squad. This is coming from Matt Barrows. So there was a collective freak out yesterday when the 49ers waived the defensive tackle nicknamed the Hulk. It happens with one player, at least one player, every single season. This is how the NFL works. These rosters are not big. These rosters hold only 53 people at cut down. You can't carry everyone. The 49ers couldn't carry Sebastian Valdez amongst their 21 linemen, but they calculated that they would be able to sign him to their practice squad because there is an oversupply of defensive linemen around the NFL. They thought that it's not likely that this guy gets picked up on waivers. The 49ers were right. This was the correct move for San Francisco. They didn't have to use a 53-man spot on Valdez, who still needs some development time, and he can get it now on San Francisco's practice squad. So big, big news. Mike, I think we need another title change. We need another title change on this. This is crazy. Well, don't put this is crazy. You can put that on the thumbnail if you want. I don't think it's that crazy. But Mike knows. Mike will vouch for me. I predicted that he would clear and that he would be on the 49ers practice squad. We can put Sebastian Valdez in right here, a defensive tackle, thanks to our good friend Matt Barrows. That's a report that I'm sure 49ers fans are very much enjoying hearing. So Valdez, that's the wrong color. We need him to be green, like a rookie. Darker green, like the other rookies. There we go. So Valdez and Bergen officially on the practice squad. I'm guessing Gage and Gibson, but those are just guesses at this point. Gibson is probably a little bit more likely than a guess because if he clears waivers, which he probably has as an older defensive lineman, he'll be on that 49ers practice squad as well. They have to fill up 16 spots of this practice squad today, and they're also working on the 53-man roster. We'll very likely see Jacob Cowing on injured reserve. That's why I made the move already. If it doesn't happen, I'll move Jacob Cowing back to the 53, but I figured we need a spot for Marquez Valdes-Scantling. There will have to be another move, though, made to put Thomas Morstead, the punter, back on this football team after an 18-hour hiatus away from the 49ers. Mike has a new title. He has picked what he wants. Mike is the vice president of production and marketing for Lombardi Productions. And he brings us graphics like this one. This is what's happening right now. John Lynch is on the phone. John Lynch is making a lot of moves, and we're talking about all of them in real time on the show. Everybody that's on right now, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the alarm bell notification button, because I'm going to be heading to the facility today, and we're going to have an epic 49ers helmet update that's going to come probably, well, maybe there'll be 2 helmet updates. I don't know. We got to talk to Lynch and Shanahan at 2. Hopefully, we have the vast majority of the 49ers roster moves before then, way before then. I would hope to have those while we're live with you right now. But then we're going to get the analysis from Lynch and Shanahan, which should be a big Jawan Jennings update because we actually have to hear from them to give you an update there. And then the 49ers will practice. So today, it's such an exciting day. I think it's the fun part of all this. The cut down yesterday, they were tearing down. Today, they're building up. Back up to 69 or 70. I think it'll probably be 69 for now because 70 is only allowed with the international exception player. And that player for the 49ers, Isaac Alarcon, is currently on the suspended list. But the fun part is today, we're waiting for news to continue trickling in. Sebastian Valdez has signed with the 49ers practice squad. He is one of 2 official re-signings to the team after the teardown of yesterday. We knew that Junior Bergen was going to be cut. We knew that after they traded for Sky Moore. We had wondered if Junior Bergen, who had those 8 punt return touchdowns at Montana, which is an FCS record, we had wondered if the 49ers were going to stick with him even after he muffed the punt against the Chargers for the practice squad. The answer on the Bergen front, yes, he is with the practice squad. And we could even put him back here as a backup punt and kick returner for the 49ers. As you can see behind Sky Moore. Then the biggest question for people entering this day was, would Sebastian Valdez, and I started the show with Sebastian Valdez, would he clear waivers and make the 49ers practice squad? We have our answer. The 49ers have both this Valdez, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and the other Valdez. That's not him. That's John Lynch. Where's my other Valdez? I don't even have the other Valdez picture. Mike, this is Esa Pole. We got to get, where's Sebastian Valdez? I think that's my fault. I was ready to give you guys a slick little transition to Sebastian Valdez, and the picture wasn't cute. Here it is. Let's get it up on the screen. I screwed that one up. I think I X'd out of it a little bit earlier. Sebastian Valdez is back with the 49ers on the practice squad. Thanks. Mike just sent it to me again. That was my fault. I did not mean to mistake Esa Pole for Sebastian Valdez. It was just a mistaken click. But this guy right here, 49ers fans will be happy to know that the Hulk is back with the team. Thought we saw a lot of really, really good hustle from Sebastian Valdez. Like, obviously, strength. He's put up, 34 reps on the bench press. But it was the hustle that got him this spot on the 49ers practice squad. It was from the very first game. We saw him with perimeter range for San Francisco coming out of defensive tackle, which you need in this scheme. If you're going to run a wide 9, there's going to be a lot of space in between the tackles. And if you can't move laterally, you're going to get eaten alive by the run game in this scheme. And I think that Sebastian's going to have to develop still more at the point of attack against the run game with some of his technique, with some of his ability to consistently eat up that space to win those blocks. But he's got so many tools, from the strength to the speed and the hustle. It's very obvious why the 49ers like this player. And I know that fans are going to be very, very excited that the 49ers have been able to keep him. So how fired up are you that the 49ers were able to keep Sebastian Valdez? Yes, he can still be plucked by another team. He's on the practice squad, but I mean, this is the price of doing business in the NFL. This is just the way that it works. Undrafted free agents sometimes have trouble making a 53-man roster. In fact, almost always have trouble making a 53-man roster. You develop them, and then there could also be a time when the 49ers elevate him to the 53. It could be as soon as week 1 or 2 if they have injuries. And then he's protected on that 53-man roster. So It's a thing where also when a guy is on your practice squad and another team swoops in trying to grab him, you have a chance at that moment to say, wait, no, we want him on our 53. And then you kick somebody off your 53 and you keep that player. So it's not like you're completely helpless if another team is coming in trying to poach these guys. The 49ers were helpless over the course of the past 18 hours or so while Sebastian Valdez was on the waiver wire, but they're no longer helpless at this point. People ecstatic about both Valdez's. Yes, and if Valdez does get poached from the practice squad, he would have to be put on the other team's 53-man roster immediately. You can't just poach to your own practice squad. It doesn't work that way. You have to give the guy a promotion. It's like taking away an offensive coordinator. You can't just make him your own offensive coordinator. You got to make him your head coach in this league. You can only leave for a promotion. The Titans have claimed former 49ers cornerback Samuel Womack, and now we have the full waiver claim list. Are the 49ers on it, Mike, or no? Mike is taking a look. The 49ers were not awarded a waiver claim. We are double checking. No waiver claims for the 49ers. Oh, no, maybe yes. No, they did claim. They claimed Jordan Jefferson, a defensive tackle, spent the spring with Jacksonville. So Jordan Jefferson, the newest 49er. Let's get the text title up. Let's get the roster up. Let's talk about Jordan Jefferson. Fourth round pick out of LSU in 2024. And Mike says they love ex Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, they do. Picked at number 116, the taller defensive tackle. They also like taller defensive tackles. He's 6'3", 316, has a wrestling background, and was with Jacksonville in 2024, was waived as part of the final roster cuts yesterday. So Jordan Jefferson now with the 49ers. They wanted a little bit more defensive tackle depth. Now, I wonder where they're going to go with the roster at this point. Is somebody going to go to injured reserve? Because that would be, I mean, at the moment, before there is a move, the 49ers are looking at 12 defensive linemen and 10 offensive linemen. They now have 22 on the 53-man roster unless there is a release or a move along the D line, which is absolutely wild. We've got the relative athletic score here for Jordan Jefferson, a very athletic defensive tackle, which should not be surprising. Somebody the 49ers are willing to use a roster spot on. This is Jordan Jefferson's relative athletic score. This is the wrong Jordan Jefferson, Mike. That's a quarterback. We got to go to the defensive tackle, Jordan Jefferson. Give me the right relative athletic score, and then we'll go to that one. Here it is. We need the newer relative athletic score for Jordan Jefferson. Here it is. A very athletic defensive tackle. That's what I remember about him coming out of the draft in 2024. LSU 831 relative athletic score. He could really, really jump. I mean, 31-inch vertical at his height and weight at 313 pounds, 6'3". That's solid. And 34 bench press reps. You know who that matches? Sebastian Valdez. Both Valdez and Jordan Jefferson have 34 bench press reps at 225 pounds on their resume. So very, very strong at that point of attack, at least as measured by the bench. And you're not caring as much about the 40 at time especially at the defensive tackle position. But as you can see, Jefferson has solid athleticism there. I think the 49ers really do like the height, weight, and just the explosion and strength at the point of attack, which you do have from Jordan Jefferson. Still somebody who's going to have to develop as a defensive tackle. 49ers have a lot of defensive tackles on the roster right now. None of the 49ers players who were cut yesterday, by the way, were claimed by other teams. That includes Sebastian Valdez, who's re-signing with San Francisco's practice squad. So right now, the 49ers are going to need to make a corresponding move to fit their claim, Jordan Jefferson. He is right here at this defensive tackle position. We're going to shade him in teal because he is, oops, that's the wrong shade. We need to paint the whole cell in teal. There we go. Because he is a waiver claim addition. He's not a rookie draftee for the 49ers. Second-year player out of LSU. The 49ers right now at defensive tackle have Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, Evan Anderson, CJ West, Alfred Collins, and Jordan Jefferson. That's 6 on the 53, which is a lot. So I have to think 12 defensive linemen is crazy, especially with 10 offensive linemen. The 49ers, I get it. They're focusing on the trenches, but this seems rather extreme. They also have Sebastian Valdez, who's going to be rejoining the practice squad. I mean, you want to build your team from the trenches. I get it. And I think that there's a very, very clear sign that the 49ers, when it comes to their roster construction and the numbers of their roster, are doing that. But I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain 12 defensive linemen on the 53, especially since they still need to sign a punter. I mean, the punter is going to need to be on the 53, and that's going to be Thomas Morstead. He's going to come back. So we'll see what the 49ers corresponding move is. This is going to be very, very interesting this afternoon. Mike asks, is Robert Beal going to be cut? It's possible. They could either somebody's hurt or somebody's going to be cut, right, along that defensive line. I would wager on that because I just don't see how they're going to be able to carry 12 on the 53 to begin the season. I mean, for context, there have been times when there have only been 8 or 9 on the 53. Like 9 is a standard number. 10 means that they're going big along the defensive line. 11 is like, oh boy, that was yesterday. This is crazy. As we speak right now, we know of 12 on the 53-man roster. 49ers are going to have to make a move for that number in our heads to change. Mike says they can put the punter on the practice squad. You don't do that. The punter is going to be on the 53. Morstead is procedural. That's not going to be a thing for Thomas Morstead, a veteran punter who's been around for a long time. Thomas Morstead played for the Saints in that game against the 49ers at Candlestick in the playoffs in the 2011 season. That was Morstead's 3rd year. So he and John Weeks have been around for a long, long while, both in their late 30s for the 49ers. All right. Mike, can you send me the tweet of Jordan Jefferson, the defensive tackle? This is a crazy number. There were 608 players waived around the league. 29 of them were claimed. So the claim percentage is 4.8%. Crazy stuff. It was Tom Pelissero who tweeted that the 49ers claimed Jordan Jefferson. Let's get this stuff out. 49ers claimed DT Jordan Jefferson, who'd been with Jacksonville. Athletic D tackle, who, to our knowledge right now, is the 12th D lineman on SF's 53-man roster. One would think that they'll make a corresponding move, reducing the size of that room today. All right, now we can get Jordan Jefferson's relative athletic score up on once more. This is it. This is what I put up on Twitter right now for Jordan Jefferson. Adrian thinks that both Kendrick Bourne and Marquez Valdes-Scantling are on their way to the Niners. Well, Marquez Valdes-Scantling for sure. We're waiting on Kendrick Bourne. We know that Jordan Jefferson has joined the team. So, in summary, what's happened this morning looks like this. The 49ers have signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling, the receiver who has 24 career stops, but has some real speed, a 4.36 40, veteran receiver to help them bridge the gap while guys are out. They have re-signed Sebastian Valdez to their practice squad, and they have claimed defensive tackle Jordan Jefferson off of waivers. We have to wait for corresponding moves. They currently have 20 we have to wait for corresponding moves. The 49ers currently have 22 offensive and defensive linemen on the 53. If you don't if you assume they're not making another move there. I'm sure they're going to make a cut at defensive line or an injured reserve placement along the defensive line, so they're not carrying 12. But Jordan Jefferson is part of this team. Again, this is an athletic defensive tackle, 4th-round pick of Jacksonville, was waived yesterday, claimed by the 49ers. San Francisco has loaded up with youngsters along that defensive line. Between Evan Anderson, CJ West, Alfred Collins, Sebastian Valdez, and Jordan Jefferson. And that's 5, 6 really young, raw defensive tackles. And the 49ers, I mean, at one point it's a numbers game, right? You bring in a lot of guys, you haven't compete, you're trying to get hungrier, you're trying to get younger, you're trying to get healthier, and you hope that this develops into one of those robust, active defensive lines. You also have a young player on the outside in Michael Williams. Bryce Huff isn't all that old either. And Nick Bosa is the ringleader of the group, veteran defensive tackle for San Francisco. So their strategy at defensive line to get younger, hungrier, and healthier has been one that they followed diligently all off season. And that strategy is going to continue. And today's been a good day for that project for the 49ers because they also were able to get Sebastian Valdez through waivers to sign him. You know, so many people thought that Valdez was going to get claimed. Probably wasn't going to happen. The claim rate was like I said, like 4.7% around the league. The chances are that you get guys like that back. The odds are not as far in your favor along the offensive line because there's a shortage of good offensive linemen. So the 49ers kept Drew Moss on the O-line side and let Sebastian Valdez go. And now both of them are back in the building. I previewed all of this and essentially predicted some of this stuff yesterday. You should check it out on the San Francisco Standard. Article is posted up there to the right. Make sure to check it out. Mike asking, are we sure that CJ West is healthy? Well, he was back out at practice. We'll see. The 49ers are going to have to make a corresponding move for this Jordan Jefferson situation because like I said, the roster numbers right now aren't mathing. If you still want to bring in Kendrick Bourne, if you still need to bring in Thomas Morstead, those are two roster spots that you're going to have to open up because Marquez Valdes-Scantling takes the Cowing one, assuming Cowing goes to injured reserve. So there is still going to be something that the 49ers do today as far as roster moves go. And you can be sure that I'm going to bring you that news when it comes. Big morning of news. 49ers building up that 53-man roster plus that practice squad. Valdes-Scantling, the other Valdez, Sebastian Valdez, Jordan Jefferson, all now 49ers. Later today, we'll give you the official list of 49ers practice squad signings. So you'll have the full 70-man roster. This is the fun part. The teardown was yesterday. The build is today. So one piece of news after another is rolling in at this point. And that means that you definitely need to hit the alarm bell. You definitely need to hit the subscribe button. Become a member of the channel. We've done 2 epic live shows, 2 straight days, 2 epic shows charting exactly what the 49ers have been doing, showing you the strategy, writing about the strategy on the San Francisco Standard. So you need to go sign up for the Standard. Link is in the description. I'm going to pin it up at the top of the comment section right now. Again, this was all charted out yesterday, and now more good stuff is going to be happening today. So sign up now. Sign up for the channel, subscribe. We're going to be the first channel to 100,000 real subscribers. We're the most viewed 49ers channel there is. We haven't had to buy subscribers to approach 100,000, which makes me very proud. We've done it with integrity. We're going to keep on doing it with integrity, and we thank you for your viewership. Huge day for the 49ers, huge couple days for the 49ers. Stay tuned. I will be live or back with an upload soon. So make sure you're following along. Appreciate everybody. We'll talk to you soon.